Okay, cool. So let's continue from where we left off yesterday. So now we are having a quadrilateral. It's question 9b. And okay, so basically now we have a quadrilateral, and then we want to prove that two sides is parallel to each other. So remember what's the formula of parallel? Yeah, basically you have to prove that one vector is a scale factor of another vector, some things like that. So as long as you can prove that this vector can be transformed into another vector by multiplying with some number, it could be integer, whatever number it is, as long as it's kind of like proportional, the ratio is agreeable, then it will be a parallel. Okay, and this means that every component in this vector have to be parallel with each other, meaning that if you have A and B and C, so each of the coefficient here, it has to be the so-called scalar of the another A and B and C. So each of the component A and B and C has to match with each other so that they can form a parallel relationship. Okay, yep. So in this case, we want to prove that Lm is parallel to the vector Kn. So now first of all, yeah, no matter what you do, just write down all of the vector first. Lm, as you can see here, is very straightforward. L points to M, and the arrow is also pointing from L to M. It gives A plus B. Cool. Now the next thing we want to find Kn, but apparently, obviously there's no arrow pointing here. There's not any there's not any given vector here for Kn. But we know that we can use the so-called, I'm not sure what is it called, but it's the relationship of polygon. I think it's called polygon law, where you can trace around the other route to find K to M. Okay, you don't necessarily need to go from K to N in a straight line. You can try to find other way. For example, from K to L, then L to M, then M to N. So just write this relationship down. Kn can also be expressed in terms of KL plus Lm plus Mn. So basically how it works is that each of the, how do I say this? Each of the adjacent alphabet adjacent point will cancel off each other, so L and L cancel off, M and N cancel off, so it still gives Km. No matter how, if you start from point K, you end in point M, you are always traveling across using the vector Kn. From the starting point to the ending point, no matter what kind of path, how long the journey you take, you always go with the vector Kn. Okay, yep. So in this case, this is the polygon law, and I think there's one mark given here just because you write down the polygon law and it's already 1 mark. Okay, yep. And then now the next thing is that you want to equate both equations, right? So yes, now we want to find first how much is Kn, right? So KL is 3A, Lm is A plus B, Mn is a constant, and then 5A plus B. Okay, so now try to simplify it a bit, so it will become 4 plus 5 lambda A, and then 1 plus lambda B. Okay, this will be the simplified version. So now we want to prove that Lm is parallel to Kn. That's to say, this and this is Kn. Yep, they have to be in some form of ratio. Okay, some form of ratio. For example, A to A will be equal to B to B. Things like that. You know the ratio, how it works, right? Yeah, so the coefficient here is 1 and 1. So we know that, the relationship of A and B inside Lm is 1 to 1. So now the relationship in Kn, the relationship of this ratio in Kn between A and B also has to be 1 to 1, so that they will form a perfect ratio, and then they will be parallel. Okay, or in other words, you can say that 1 is K something, 1A is K something A, and then 1B is also K something. Yeah, something like that. So if you divide both equations, you will also end up with the same thing, which is that 4 plus 5 lambda, it should be equal to 1 plus lambda, so that they can form the ratio 1 to 1. Okay, yep. So now let's solve this equation. For lambda equals to -3, lambda is equal to -3 minus 4. Divided by 4. Okay, yep. So now this is the value of lambda. And yes, please note that the value of lambda here is not a variable. It's something set that we have a value for this particular, this particular lambda, this particular thing. It has a value. It's just that it's not given in the question. The question wants you to find it out and then prove that there is a certain value in this lambda that will give the relationship of parallel. If today the lambda is given to be, let's say 3 or 2 or 1, as long as it is not negative 3 over 4, then this entire equation would not be valid, because this entire parallel relationship, as we prove here, yeah, it must be equal to both sides, and then the value of the lambda given would be negative 3 over 4. Okay, so based on this value, we can find the value of k, because k multiplied by this would be 1. So how much would k be? So k will be 4. Right, yeah, so this is just some calculation thing, just do it yourself. And then now k will be 4, so we can prove that, it actually works like this. 1a equals to 4a, and then 1b equal to 4, 1 plus lambda b. And in short, okay, in conclusion, we can say that because 1a plus 1b is basically our LM. So our LM is basically 4 times of this entire thing, which is our what is it called? Kn. Yeah, so LM is 4 times of Kn. As long as you can prove that these two vector, the whatever vector they want you to prove, as long as these two vector itself that has a constant that relate them together, then you are done. That's how simple we can prove something is parallel. Okay, yep, that's it for question 9. Okay, good. Question 10. Okay, so now let's go to question 10. It's talking about angle. Okay, so sine alpha and tangent beta is given here, and they are both in the same quadrant. So that should suggest that, since you know that we have, I think all of you should know this thing, right? I forgot what kind of formula I used to remember this, but should be something like this one is O, and then sine, and then tangent, and then cos. So whatever lah, Ali, Suka, Te, whatever thing, and you want to, yeah, I think something I recall before was all science teachers are crazy. Something like that. So basically this circle thing, it should tell you that at the first quadrant here, everything is positive, all positive. And at the second quadrant here, only sine is positive. Third quadrant, only cos is positive. Tangent is positive, tan. And then finally, in the last quadrant, only cos is positive. Okay, yep. So based on this relationship, you can see that in the case that when sine is negative, but then tangent is positive, it should fall into this quadrant, because it says that A and B, alpha, beta is in the same quadrant. So we can conclude that they are all in this quadrant, third quadrant, which is basically from 180 to 270. Okay, yep. So now we know the location of the angle. Now let's try to work the entire picture of the angle out. Okay, yep. So since it should be something like this, the angle should go from 0 all the way to here. Let's say like this. This is our alpha. So now it says that sine alpha is negative 3 over 5. Now the first question, how does this negative 5 appear, right? A negative sign appear, right? Yeah, why? Because okay, first of all, we know that sine is S or H. S or H means opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite of this angle, okay, let's say we take a look at this angle. The opposite of this angle would be 3, because sine is basically opposite over hypotenuse. So this one is 3. Hypotenuse would be 5. Now, why is it negative? Yes, because 3 is actually a negative sign. Because, obviously, yeah, because it's below the x-axis. So this line should correspond to negative 3. Okay, yeah, and 5, it's definitely a positive integer, because 5 is kind of like the magnitude, the magnitude of the entire line, and it shouldn't be negative anyway. Yep, so that's why when you divide negative 3 with 5, you divide opposite with hypotenuse, you get negative 3 over 5, which is negative. And that's why the sign of an angle in third quadrant is negative, because the OR is always negative, H is always positive, so in the end, it will give sine equal to negative for these two quadrants, third and fourth. Yep, so that's the relationship between A. So using Pythagoras theorem, we can know that we have a 5 here, we have a 3 here. What is the remaining? Yes, we have a 4 here. So because 3 squared plus 4 squared equal to 5 squared. So again, in this case, because it's because it's to the left of our y-axis, so it should be negative here also lah, because this point should be negative. This point is positive, this point is negative lah. Okay, yep. So that's for alpha. Now let's work for beta. Beta also same thing. You have an angle traveling across the entire first quadrant, second quadrant, and it reaches at third quadrant. At third quadrant here, it says that tangent beta equal to 2. So tangent equals to T or A. So opposite over adjacent, 2 over 1, opposite over adjacent. Opposite is the opposite, 对面, and then adjacent is 旁边. So 2 over 1. And then now you have this relationship. And again, as you know that, they are both at the negative side. So it should be -1, it should be -2. Okay, because these two coordinate, this coordinate is -1, this coordinate is -2, which gives you -1, -2. And of course, tangent of this angle become -2 divided by -1, negative cancel. And that's why we can get a positive tangent in third quadrant. Okay, yep. So now what happened is that you know the two line. Again, we can find the third line, which is our hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always positive because it's a length, it's a magnitude, it's not something we measure by positive and negative. So in this case, what is this length here? Yeah, this length would be 2 square plus 1 square equal to sub 5. Okay, sub 5. Yep. So now we work out all the side of these two triangles. So now let's try to find let's try to see what the question one. The question one, cos alpha minus beta equals to this thing. So yeah, you have to first find its expression for cos alpha minus beta, and then we equate it with this equation to find m. As simple as that. Yep. So what is cos alpha minus beta? This should be given in the formula itself, such that cos alpha minus beta, it will become cos alpha cos beta minus sin alpha sin beta. Correct, right? I don't really remember, but yeah, should be. And then the next thing, is that what I asked? Yeah. And then the next thing is that you have to find me cos alpha, cos beta, sin alpha, sin beta. Yeah, as simple as that. So anything given here, say sin alpha is given, and then tangent, okay, only this one is given. So let's try to find the others out. Yep. So cos alpha. Let's go to alpha. This is alpha. Cos is CAH char. So adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent, let me change the color maybe. So adjacent over hypotenuse, -4 over 5. Right, okay, agree? Yep, cool. Cos beta, again, so char to CAH, adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse. So -1 over sub 5. So this is for the first part. Next, we have, okay, I think I made a mistake here. This one should be plus. Yeah, based on the formula. Okay, continue. So sin alpha is given already, right? So sin alpha was given to be -3 over 5. Okay, -3 over 5, and then sin beta would be, okay, we look at beta here. So sin is S or H, so opposite over hypotenuse, opposite over hypotenuse, -2 over sub 5. So now let's try to simplify this thing a bit. So 4 over 5 sub 5 plus 6 over 5 sub 5. This gives me 10 over 5 sub 5. So basically 2 over sub 5. Now we have 2 over sub 5. And then it should be equal to this expression, m sub 5 over 5. So 2 over sub 5 equals to m sub 5 over 5. You can just do a little bit of simplification here and there. You can move things around, and then you should see that this should cancel out, become this, and these two should cancel out. So it will give you m equals to 2. Okay, if you want to go the hardcore way, also doesn't matter. You can do like 2 over sub 5 times 5 divided by sub 5. It will also give you 2. Okay, yep. So that's it for this question. M equals to 2. Cool. Next question. 3 to 1. Okay. So now we have tangent. We have this expression and then this expression. Find the value of k. Right. Find the value of k in surd form. Whenever you see the question asks you to find something in surd form, you should know that it is always some kind of long expression. You need to simplify it down. Yep. So based on this equation, based on this, tangent theta minus 60 equals to -1. You should be able to find a formula based on this, right? Yep. So what is formula for tangent minus? Yep, it should be something like tangent. Okay, actually I can't remember. Let me just. I don't have any formula sheet. So is it given the question? Okay, so tangent. Yeah, it should be tangent of theta minus tangent 60, and then 1 plus tangent theta tangent 60. Yep, this is not something we prove or something we find. This is just based on the formula given in the exam, right? Okay, so this itself should equal to -1. And now we know that tangent theta equal to k. So we sub them in. And we know that tangent 60 should give you cert 3. So cert 3. So yeah, finally we have this equation. And now just try to simplify things down and then find what is k, as simple as that. So we try to move the entire expression over to the another side. So -1 plus k cert 3, and then it becomes -1 minus negative cert 3. Now group all the k together and then group all the group all the k of the unknown together and then group all the numbers to the other side. So let's say k plus k cert 3 equal to -1 plus cert 3, something like that. And then again, we know we want to find k only, right? We want to find only k, so just take the k out. 1 plus cert 3 equals to cert 3 minus 1. So now k equal to cert 3 minus 1 over cert 3 plus 1. And yes, I think you have to simplify it down because in the cert, I mean, it wasn't in my syllabus, I'm not really sure, but I guess it would be just a good practice to always present your cert form in the simplest form. I mean, or to say in the in the non-fraction form. Okay, yep. So in this case, how do we convert this into a proper form? Yep, you can just type into a calculator, but the proper way you should be multiplying by the conjugate. So if this one is cert 3 plus 1, we look at the 分母, the denominator. If this one is cert 3 plus 1, you have to multiply with cert 3 minus 1. Same goes to the upper part, cert 3 minus 1. So now do a little bit of math here. So it becomes 3 minus 1. The upper part become 3 minus 2 cert 3 plus 1. So in the end, it becomes 4 minus 2 cert 3 over 2, and simplified to become 2 minus cert 3. Okay, that will be the final answer. Okay, that's it for this question. Let's go. Let's look at next question. Okay. If you feel like I'm talking too fast, I mean, if you feel like I'm moving too fast from one question to another question, just feel free to pause it down, copy down everything, try to go through the equation in your head again and again until you remember, until you understand what I'm doing, until you understand what you're writing down, then you proceed. Okay, don't just go as fast as me. Yep. Now next question, question 11, we have normal line to a curve. Normal line to a curve at the point is parallel to the straight line. Is parallel to the straight line. So whenever we see parallel, yep, this is not vector anyway. This is not vector. Yeah. So outside of vector topic, we see parallel. We should know that gradient is equal. Okay, gradient is equal. So we have to find the gradient of straight line, this, and then find the gradient of this, and then equal them. That will be one of the things to do because the question gives you a hint that it is parallel. So what is the gradient of this straight line? X plus y minus a equal to 0. You know, you have to transform it into, the simplest way will be transforming into y equals to mx plus c. So y should be equal to negative x plus a. So if you do a little bit of comparison, you can see that, yes, m equals to minus 1. So m equals to minus 1. This m is parallel to my normal line of the curve. So that's to say my normal line of the curve should also give me gradient equal to -1. Okay, gradient equal to -1. And now we know that because it's a normal line, it's not the tangent. Normal and tangent is different. So now it's a normal line. This is a curve. This is a normal line. This is a tangent line. So we have normal perpendicular to tangent. Now we know that normal line is m equal to -1. How do we find the tangent? Yes, how do we find the gradient of the tangent? We have to do, divide the whole thing using -1. So because it should go like m1, m2 equals to -1. So -1, m2 equals to -1. So now our tangent gradient will be 1. This is for tangent, okay? This is for tangent. -1 was for normal. But why do we find tangent? Because as you can see, this question is given you an equation, and we know that dy dx equals to gradient of tangent. dy dx equals to gradient of tangent, not normal but tangent. So that's why we have to transform. We have to find from the equation, from the gradient of normal, we find the equation of tangent, and then we do dy dx, and then we can see the comparison. Okay, yep. So now let's do a little bit of dy dx. So y equals to ax squared plus b over x, is it? Yep. Now, so do dy dx. First of all, if you are confused with this kind of notation, just convert them into like into a straight into non-fraction form. So it should be b times x to the power of -1. Now let's do dy dx. So 2ax 2 minus 1 plus -1 bx minus 1 minus 1. So it will become 2ax minus bx minus 2. Okay, yep. So now we have the dy dx equation, and we know that at this point, at this particular point, the value of x is 1. So we just sub this x into it. So 2a minus b. So it will become 2a minus b. And again, we say just now, gradient, dy dx is the gradient of tangent. So this expression will equals to the tangent gradient I just found. So it should equals to 1. This equation should equals to 1. 2a minus b equals to 1. Now this is the first equation we have. And always, as always, when you have two unknown, you always need two equations to solve, unless it's a special case. In this case, it's not a special case. You will need two unknown to solve. You will need two equations in two unknown to solve this equation. With two unknown. So in that case, you will need another equation. How do we find another equation? Yes, go back to the question itself. Try to look which clue or which piece of information is not used yet. Yes, we can see over here. Yeah, this coordinate is not fully used because the value of 5, the value of its y coordinate is actually not used by us. We haven't actually used it. So how do we use it? Yeah, simple. You have equation. As I say, you have equation. You have coordinate, just plug in and see what will happen. That's it. It's like actually what happened in the previous question 2 or 3 or question 1. Yeah, you have equation, you have coordinate, just plug in first and then you see what will happen. And then you can see, from the equation, you can see what you can do next. Okay, yep. So now just plug in the equation, which should give you, okay, so, so y equals to ax squared plus b over x. So y is 5 and then x is 1. So a plus b. Yep, that's it. So now we have two equations. 2a minus b equals to 1. 5 equals to a plus b. This one I will just leave it to you guys to solve it, and then the final answer you should get a equals to 3, b equals to 2. Wait, is there a mistake here? Why it says a equal to 2? Which part went wrong? Wait, let me check. 2a minus b is -1. No, this one is correct. This one is also correct. And then 3a equals to, okay, just a mental calculation problem. I'm sorry. Yeah, so this one should be 2, this one should be 3. Okay, yep, so that's it. And how to solve this equation? For the fastest method, it should be just summing the equation together, because you have plus b here, you have minus b here, and you know that plus b plus minus b equals to nothing. So just plus them together, it will become 5 plus 1 equals to 6, a plus 2a equals to 3a. So b plus negative b equals to nothing. So we have this simplified equation, 6 equals to 3a, and we can find that a equals to 2 and then b equals to 3. Okay, yep, that's how it works. Okay, that's it for this question. Let's look into question 12. Now, so let's look into question 12. So you have in equation, this is quite hard because the equation is quite hard to simplify. So you have an equation and then you see the word rate. Okay, in your chapter, in your MF syllabus, SPM at least, whenever you see rate, you should know that it's something to do with dy dx. Okay, dy dx. Yep. So now you want to do dy dx. First thing first, because you haven't done something called implicit differentiation. So first thing first, what you should do is to simplify the equation. Okay, simplify the equation, as in you will have a very clear subject over here and then something over the other side. Okay, yep. So now usually, so now there's a question. Usually people will ask, do I express f in terms of g or g in terms of f? Both can work actually, but it's just that It's just that over here, it gives you the value of G. So we know that if you do df dg, it will be in terms of G, something about G. If you do dg df, it will be something in terms of F. So if you want to make your life easier, you might want to consider using this, because you can just sub the equation, the value of G into this equation. But if you do dg df, which is that you have an equation G equals to something something F, and then you differentiate it, it becomes dg df, and then you find something is in terms of F again, and then you want to find the value of F to plug in, but then you are only given the value of G. You have to use this value of G to find the value of F, and then you plug this in. It's not difficult, it's not hard, it's just a bit troublesome. Okay, yeah, so it might cause careless mistake anyway. So yeah, try to find the right way to tackle this. So in this way, I would suggest to do the first one. Why? Because if you have F in terms of G, you can always find the df dg, which is also in terms of G. And then you can always easily substitute this G equals to 20 into your df dg. And that makes your life easier a lot. Okay, yep. So that's how we identify which equation to take as a subject, which variable. And now let's try to simplify. So 1 over F plus 1 over G equals to 1 over 15. So again, try to move everything to the other side. Simplify this, 15g, g minus 15. F equals to just the inverse lah. So 15g over g minus 15. Okay, yeah, now let's try to find the derivative. So df dg. Again, ask yourself, why do we find the derivative? Why do we find the df dg? Because the question asks for rate. Whenever we see rate, it should be something to do with our dy dx. So yes, df dg, 15 gram. No, the equation goes like v du dx. So v du dx minus, basically lower part minus the derivative of upper part, and then upper part minus the derivative of lower part, and then divided by v squared, lower part square. Okay, yeah, simplify a bit. So 15, it should give you negative 225 over g minus 15 squared. This is the value of your df dg. And again, in the case of usually when we deal with our rate of change in this kind of question, we will need a very exact value of the df dg. So at this point, our g is given to be 20 cm. So your df dg, you just sub the 20 into it, and then you can find the exact value of the f dg at this point of g equals to 20 cm. So 20 minus 15 squared. It should give something like this, minus 9. Okay, yep, and note that there's a minus. That's to say it's actually decreasing somehow. Yeah, but anyway, there's a minus. Okay, there's a minus. Yep, and then also note that the unit here is cm. Why can we just use cm? Because for some people, maybe you are taking physics or something, you should know that unit is very sensitive. You should always convert them into standard unit, right? So convert cm to n, something like that. But then in UMF, we don't usually do that, because we can express everything in terms of cm. So as you can see, the question itself, everything is cm, cm, cm. Even it asks you to find the rate of change of f in cm per second. So you don't need to worry about changing it to meter, because everything in the question is set to be cm. So there's no need to change. But in some kind of kebab question, maybe they will ask you to change. So just pay attention to that. In this case, don't need to change, because everything in the question was given already in cm. Just take it as cm. That's it. Just take it and go. Yep. So over here, you have the value of df dg. Now let's form our equation. Yes, the rate of change of f is df dt. So now we are given df dg. How do we find df dt from df dg? Yes, we do a little bit of chain rule. So you can multiply with dg dt such that the dg and dg will cancel off each other, and then it gives you df dt. Okay, yep. So now we have the value of this. The question also gave me the value of dg dt, rate of change of g, which is 1.2. So yes, we have two values of this. Just find this. As simple as that. So 9.1.2. Yep, the answer should be, sorry, not 9, negative 9. So the answer should be negative 10.8. Again, remember it's in cm per second. Okay, yep. And why over here, I can confidently put 1.2 but not negative 1.2? Because it says increase. It says it's increasing at a rate. So that's to say your rate should be positive. If it says something like decreases at the rate of 2 cm per second, then it should be -2 because it's decreasing, it's going down. The graph is going down, so negative. Okay, yep. So here should be positive because it's increasing anyway. Yep, that's it for this question. Let's go to look into next question. Okay, yep. This is a curve. Again, it says something called approximate value. If you see this, if you see derivative, you should know it's something to do with dy dx again. Yep. So find the first derivative of y. Y is equal to this. So just dy dx this, right? Yeah. Don't be confused by the sentence. First derivative basically means dy dx. How about second derivative? Yeah, second derivative, it means d square y dx square. Okay, yeah, so now in this case, let's do dy dx on this. Dy dx equals to, this one becomes 0, negative remain, 2x squared becomes 2x. So, yeah, equal to -2x. Okay, yep. And now we want to find the approximate value of q. When, find the approximate value of q in terms of p and k. In another word, as you can see, there's a slight change here. There's a slight change when p change from p to k, p plus k. Okay, so there's a change of k here plus k here. So at this approximate change, after this approximate change, your value of x change, definitely your value of y would also change because it's equation related. So when your x change, your y also would change, right? So when your x change from p plus a k, it becomes p plus k. Your y should be also changing from something to something. So from this unknown to q, and there's a difference here. This is called your delta y. Okay, yep. So this is delta x, this is delta y. When your x experience a slight change, we call delta x. Actually, it should be written like this, delta x. Yeah, when your x experience a slight change, your y also will experience a slight change, delta y, and it should be the that should be related in the relationship, which is dy dx. Okay, yep. So now we have the dy dx already, and then again the formula should work like this: delta y over delta x equals to dy dx. Basically, change in y equals to dy dx multiplied with change in x. This one is change in y. This one is changing x, this one is your dy dx. Okay, yep. So now again, we have all of this value actually, so just try to find it. So we know that this is -2x, dy dx is -2x, and then delta x is basically the change in x. So p change to p plus k. So the change in x would be, p plus k minus p. Basically final minus initial, so it gives you k actually. So 2xk, -2xk. We're not done yet because the value of x shouldn't be just left with x. Everything here has a value, including x and y. So the value of x here is p because we are trying to find what happened when the point p changes. So p is our kind of like main character, our 主角. So p is the main character, p is our main value of x. So yeah, don't put in p plus k, put p. So the x value should be put p. So -2pk is my delta y. Again, please take note, is my delta y. What is delta y? Is this value. Okay, it's not q, it's not question mark, but it's the difference between my question mark and my q. The so-called changes in my y-axis. What changes happen in my y? Okay, yep. So now you want to find q. So you need to know what was q initially, and then it undergoes the changes of delta y, and then it becomes q. So q equals to your y plus dy. So what was the initial y? Yes, the initial y correspond to p. Right. So that's to say when the value of x is equal to p, y equals to what? Find it out. Yeah, so this is simple because we know the equation 1 minus x squared. So 1 minus p squared. So when x is p, your value of y should give 1 minus p squared. Okay, yeah, so now we have 1 minus p squared, and then you plus your delta y, you plus your change in y, which is -2pk. Okay, yeah, and that will be your final answer. Okay, that's it for this question. So now let me stop the recording first. Yeah.